Good afternoon and welcome to the Copperloader Racing Vlog for tomorrow's Grand National at Aintree, of course. The biggest spectacle on the horse racing calendar in the UK, without a doubt. And it's set to be an absolute belter, I have to say. Wide open, some really cracking horses going in the race for tomorrow, and I'll go through them all and give you my thoughts as to their chances and the horses that I'll pick out that I think will perform really well tomorrow. The racing, the ground, as we know, is going to be testing. It's currently soft, heavy in places on the national course, particularly up around Canal Turn, where the going looks really tough. It's been raining this morning, but there has it looks like the rain that's came through this morning, that will be the last of it, and we should be dry from now until the race itself, looking at the forecast that I checked. I don't think that's going to make a massive difference, like there's going to be a big dry out of the ground. The national course itself will be run today with the Topham, but then tomorrow it will only be the Grand National at 5:15 that will run on that ground. So it'll be interesting to see. You're looking at horses that are going to be, that enjoy a bit of cut in the ground, enjoy a bit of the mud flying around, so that maybe cuts out some horses. Some horses have already pulled out because of that reason. So it is the greatest spectacle for me, sporting wise, of the year. I've loved this race since I was a kid. It's just fascinating seeing this race excel over the years. There's been a lot of changes to the race course, to the fences, to the start of the race, of course, as well. It's not as long as it used to be, but I think all those changes had to take place. I know some old timers and some people who have followed the race for the past 30-40 years or longer maybe disagree with that thought, but I think it had to change. I think if it stuck by its principles of having those really brutal fences, where you know, you couldn't go through them, you know, the core of the fence was solid wood. When you hear some people speak about, you know, back in the 80s when horses were coming in finishing the race, they look look dreadful, some of the horses. They look like they'd been on a World War One, you know, like the Battle of the Somme or something, and that we just don't. That wouldn't happen in modern times. It wouldn't be allowed to happen, and people would just walk away from the race and they just wouldn't accept it. So it's managed to keep its prestige. It's managed to draw in still vast amount of crowds year in and year out. The 3-day festival is just taking off as well. Ladies' Day is massive, it's a sellout. The Grand National itself is a sellout, and a lot of that is down to it progressing with the times. They've implemented some changes. It can't be bomb-proof, the race, in terms of the fatalities, but we always have to look at things. Just look at the Cheltenham Festival, fatalities there, and I think they're going to have to look at that as we move forward, because the public perception of it will just not accept that we can continue with just ignoring fatalities to horses, and also some injuries to the jockeys as well has to be taken into consideration. So going forward, we have to look at that, and they have done that at Aintree, and quite rightly so. A soft ground, as we say, is going to be the measure of the day tomorrow. But let's not forget that these horses have been used to running in soft ground all season. It's been a wet winter, we've had snow, but it's getting at the ground. So we've seen a lot of abandonments of meetings over the past week or so. But Aintree, obviously, it's not raced since December, so there's a lot of fresh ground there. There's good drainage at Aintree, but it's still going to be tough going. You're looking at when you rule the world one, it was in the soft ground then. Is it going to be as bad as when Red Marauder won? We'll just have to wait and see. But it's still going to be a great spectacle. Thankfully tomorrow the forecast looks dry, so for all the race goers it's not going to be one of those days where you're looking for cover and keeping out the rain. That rain, as I say, came through this morning, and hopefully that will be the last of it from now. But let's get stuck into the racing itself, the big race tomorrow. Now the top weight is out, Manila Rocco, which had a good chance if the ground did stay on the good side. His performance in the Gold Cup last year was one that meant that this target was always going to be the one for John Joe O'Neill and JP McManus this season, and it's just bad luck that the ground has went against him. Carrying top weight in that type of ground that doesn't suit, I don't think there's any point in trying to wing your way round. They'll just look for other options. So that means Thunder and Roses comes in its place. JJ Slevin, who won the Irish Grand National a couple of weeks ago, goes on this horse, which also won the Irish Grand National, I think it was in 2015. Was going decent enough last season in this race in the Grand National before I think it fell at Valentine's. So I think it has a decent enough chance. Its jumping has really deserted it over of late. It ran in the Irish National a couple of weeks ago, so it'll be interesting to see how it comes out of that one. But stamina won't have a real problem for it, but its jumping has left a lot to be desired of late. So it will be around about 60-61 you're looking at for Thunder and Roses. Black Lion is number 2. It's a consistent sort for the Nigel Twiston Davis, who knows how to win this race, and Sam Twiston Davis will be on board for his dad. Was going well last season, finished 4th. Some maybe felt no Feely, who was on board that day, maybe went too early. I don't think it made a difference. I think the winner won for Arthur, as we know, was a good winner and fully deserved to take the title last season. Has been campaigned well this season, ran well over these fences previously in the Beecher, so looks to have a good chance. Was second in the Grand National Trial, so conditions shouldn't be a problem. It's obviously carrying more weight than it did last season, so but it's in with a chance. Annabelle Fly is the class horse, I suppose you could say, in this race, having finished a good third in the Gold Cup a few weeks ago at Cheltenham, behind Native River and Might Bite, who came out and won yesterday in the Betfair Bowl. That kind of showed to you, Annabelle Fly really did those two were hammer and tongs, as we know, in that race out in front. Annabelle Fly really did finish off the race really well, and is coming into this race with a hell of a chance for Barry Geraghty and the JP McManus team. Tony Martin is the trainer, and knows how to train a horse, having trained many of a Cheltenham Festival winner down the years. So this horse looks well in this sense, in this type of race, and has a hell of a chance. Annabelle Fly. The Last Samurai has been well campaigned, finished second in the cross-country race at Cheltenham behind Tiger Roll. Kim Bailey is the trainer, David Bass will be on board. Has ran well in this race down through the years, but again, as we went up in the weights, so the theory has always been that horses that have previously ran in the Grand National don't necessarily, if they keep campaigning, they will eventually win it, just like a hedge hunter done. You look at the past few winners, it's their first time jumping round here, and you just think, has the Last Samurai missed the boat as such in this race? So it'll be interesting to see with that. So I'm kind of drawing a line through the Last Samurai. Next one, Valsa Salido, number 5, Henry de Bromhead. It's hard to really fancy this horse. It really hasn't had any real notable successes of late. It's done nothing in its form of late to really think, oh, there's something there. and is also high up the weight, so I find it hard to fancy that one. Number 6 is Total Recall for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. This horse won the Ladbroke Trophy, the Old Hennessy, back at Newbury. Was going well in the Cheltenham Gold Cup, I felt, before falling. It was a kind of innocuous fall. It wasn't as if, you just seemed, the horse just seemed to collapse, but it was going well. And when you look at how Annabelle Fly, who was behind it at the time, finished, you think, well, it could have. I'm not saying it would have won the Gold Cup, but the Gold Cup has proven for the likes of Many Clouds, Moon down the years to be a good trial. And I think this horse has got a hell of a chance, as long as it gets that jumping right. But looks well placed to run very well. Next another is Mouse Morris with Alpha de Zobo. Rachel Blackmore on board for the Gigginstown team. I think this horse has stamina doubts, to be honest. I really do. So I would put a line through that one. Next one is Fergal O'Brien with a Perfect Candidate. I don't think it's a perfect candidate for this race, to be honest, and me struggle. Number 9, James Bowen on board for Richard Hobson, Shantou Flyer, finished behind Kusta Savola in the Ultima Handicap at Cheltenham a few weeks back, and really finished off the race well. So this horse really does have a chance, Shantou Flyer, and maybe one of those horses that gets back very much on the day, Shantou Flyer. So I think that horse has a chance. 10, Venetia Williams is always a trainer that I turn to when the mud's flying around. There is one horse that I'll speak about later on. It's lower down the weights that may have a chance. Tenor Nivany is a well campaigned horse, and we'll give Tom O'Brien a good spin round, but I just don't think it's got the class. We'll like the conditions, but I think it will plod around rather than enjoy the conditions to the extent that it could feature in the finish. Number 11 is another JP McManus horse, Carnival for Lock. Again, I find this horse a bit hard to fancy, and so I would draw a line through that one. Vicenti's come out the race. Again, ground would not be to its fancy, so that will look at Ayr next week, and look to do the hat trick at Ayr in the Scottish Grand National. So Delusion of Grandeur comes into it for Sue Smith, who's won this race previously with Aurora's Encore. But I get this one, I think really does have stamina doubts, so shouldn't see out the trip. Number 13's Tiger Roll for Davy Russell and Gordon Elliott. Gordon Elliott's won this race before with Silver Birch. We know now he's a top class trainer, and this horse won at Cheltenham and has won 3 times at the Cheltenham Festival. Won the cross country a few weeks ago on ground that possibly wasn't to his favour. He does like it to be a bit quicker than what it currently is, but there's a couple of things. One, I've backed this anti-post, as you probably know if you follow the vlog. It's now 12 to 1. I backed it at 50 to 1 and got a price boost out of it as well. So, I've always had this horse in mind. I'm a little bit concerned about the ground. Some have said that it maybe, have highlighted that maybe it won't take to the national fences. Jumping could be a concern, but I can't jump off it now. I've always liked the horse and I'll still go with it. I've backed it anyways already, so that's Tiger Roll. It's got class, and stamina shouldn't be a problem. Regal Encore is next. Anthony Honeyball, another JP McManus horse. Richie McLernon on board. Richie McLernon probably deserves a bit of luck in this race after what happened with his Sunny Hill Boy and getting nabbed on the line by Neptune in Cologne a few years back. I think I want to ask it, but really, I don't know. Again, I just think this horse, I might just find one or two just too good for it in the end. So I'll put a line through that one. VA Leon Rouge for David Pipe and Tom Scudamore. Another horse that's ran in this race a few times. I've backed it a couple of times in this race, but it's just never seen it out, and I don't see that any reason why that would change. So again, it's hard to fancy when it's it's not basically it's a further year down the line, and I don't see anything to say to change the opinion that it will do better. Chase the Spud loves the mud, Paddy Brennan and Fergal O'Brien, and would have possible each way claims, I would say. Number 17 Warriors Tail, Paul Nicholls and Sean Bourne. It's an interesting type, this one. Paul's won the race before. It's owned now by connections that have had many clouds win the race. Hedgehunter win the race. Sir Trevor Hemmings. So this could be an interesting type, and I think there might be a few market moves on that in the next 24 hours. See You at Midnight's number 18 Brian Hughes for Sandy Thompson, another Scottish horse looking to do what One for Arthur achieved last season, and it would be great if it could. Sandy Thompson's had a bit of a difficult time with it this year. See You at Midnight, some injury issues. Look to try and get it back. It had to run in a race this season to qualify to run in the Grand National. Twice was entered to run at Kelso, but due to the weather, that the meetings were abandoned. So he eventually found a race at Newbury a few weeks ago, and he had a spin round there to sharpen him up for today. He'll be fit enough, and is an interesting type, so has a real hell of a chance, I think. It's now owned by the same connections that own Party Politics when that one, so they know a good horse when they see it, and this horse has a hell of a chance. Really does. 19 Gasline Boy is a consistent enough sort around these fences for Robbie Dunn and Ian Williams, and will give you a run for your money. I wouldn't put anyone off Gasline Boy each way. Neither would I put them off number 20 the Dutchman. Won at, I think it was the old Tommy Whittle at Haydock in the mud. So going that route is a well trodden route for many a Grand National hopeful. Again, Colin Tizard, Harry Cobden connection, and this horse I think again will enjoy conditions, and there's been a few bit of money that's went his way. 21 another Willie Mullins horse, pleasant company for him and Davy Mullins. I think this horse, no, I'm not for this horse at all. Pleasant company, I think there'll be one too many better than that. Cello Conte, number 22, Gordon Elliott and Daryl Jacob. Daryl Jacob having a good meeting at the moment, and Simon Munier and Isaac Hodes is also doing well. And this has a decent enough chance, I would say. Finished behind Annabelle Fly in a race, so you know that form's worked out decent. So it's definitely got a chance. 23 is St. R, Tom George and Anthony Heskins. Each way claims has ran really well previously in this race. Enjoys jumping round the national course, so I wouldn't put you off that. It's just another year on its back, so it might be a one step too far, but it knows its way around Aintree, that's for sure. Beeves is out of the race for Jenny Candish and Sean Quinlan, so the horse that's come in and took its place, I do apologise, I have got that one out of I've written it down in the mill, is it? Anyway, I'm not for the horse. I don't think it will run well. 25 Rasde Marie won the Welsh National for Robbie Power and Gavin Cromwell. So enjoys the mud. So has an each way claim, I would say. Sue Smith has I Just Know. Now this horse is well fancied by a few northern punters. Won well at Catterick recently, and I think that definitely does have a shout. Will enjoy conditions, so could run well. 27 is Virgilio for Harry Skelton and Dan Skelton. Again, I think this horse unexposed, so should be fresh. Each way claims without a doubt. 28 is a horse that's been backed a lot this week, is Bay de Ailes, and Katie Walsh running for her husband Ross O'Sullivan, who's the trainer. Well backed because of the ground, the way the grounds went. Form wise it looks pretty good. is working out well. Katie Walsh on board, the story's there, isn't it? So run for her husband. Katie knows her way around the national fences for sure, and it would be quite a story if that horse wins. A lot of money went that way for this grey horse. 29 is Maggio, for Brendan Powell. Just for me, the owners have won it with Encore, Aurora's Encore, but to me it's not a national type horse, so I wouldn't go with that one. 31 Bywise has got a good profile. He's an 11-year-old, a decent enough horse, good handicapper down the years, well in this race, but I just find it hard to fancy. Same with 32, Children's List. You know, you look at it's a Willie Mullins horse, Jonathan Burke's on board, but I find that I'll be surprised if it's there at the end. Lord Windermere, number 33, Jim Culotti, it's won with obviously the Gold Cup with this horse. Ran in the Beecher, didn't run well at all, didn't take to the fences. He's ran in this last year. This horse has lost its way really since winning the Gold Cup, which is a shame, and I don't see it revitalising itself here tomorrow. 34, another Scottish runner, Sam Coulthard on board for his dad Stuart, so a good family connection. Captain Redbeard, loves the mud, has won well at places like Ayr in the past, ran behind the Dutchman, or was it the, yeah, I think it was the Dutchman, wasn't it? Anyway, has good form, and so could not be ruled out. Captain Redbeard running well for your money. Number 35, another one who loves the mud and should run well, is this one I was saying about Venetia Williams. You can't ignore her horses when the rain's fallen, and Hublon de Zobo could run really well at a big price. Charlie Dutch on board, who's had a good week this week. 36, Bless the Wings, for Jack Kennedy and Gordon Elliott. That ran in the Irish National, and was pulled up, so I just wonder if it's in good terms with itself. Milan's Bar, Bryony Frost, it's her birthday today, so she'll be looking to try and get a good birthday present tomorrow. She's on Milan's Bar, and yeah, I wouldn't rule anybody out having a wee punt on that. Neither would I rule out Final Nudge for Gavin Sheehan on board for David Dennis. I think that's got each way claims as well. Double Ross pulled up in this. Again, this horse, it seemed to run well at Cheltenham, but I think it's not really taken to the national fences, and I'll be surprised if it's there at the end again. And finally, Road to Riches, Sean Flanagan for No Mead. This was a good horse in its day, but I think it's definitely lost its way. So yeah, I would ignore that one as well. So in terms of who I've got Tiger Roll, because I do fancy it. Total Recall, I think, will run a really big race, and on each way terms, my heart has to have a punt with See You at Midnight and Captain Redbeard, but I'll also have a little punt each way on the likes of Hublon de Zobo, who I think again could run a real big race for Venetia Williams, and the Dutchman as well, I think is worth an each way punt there. So that's the Grand National taken care of, I hope. The other races at Aintree tomorrow, I think each way punt on Fix the Cap. Hopefully he can find his form again in the 3 mile handicap hurdle that starts off proceedings. And the novice hurdle at the next race, the Mersey novice hurdle, I think I will put my money on Western Rider, who finished off his race well in the at Cheltenham in the novice race there, and I think again will like conditions and hopefully run well at an each way price. And the handicap chase as well tomorrow, I think Hollybush Henry at each way money should do well. And in the Stayers hurdle, the race just before the national itself, I'm hoping Sam Spinner doesn't tear off in front. Well, he does stay, but he doesn't, he doesn't hold it up at the front, and then the Stairs hurdle at Cheltenham Festival was a bit of a disaster for Sam Spinner, and I think he needs to, get the pace better judged rather than just sitting in front and being like a sitting duck and being caught. It really was a melee, that race at the end, and Sam Spinner did stick on well, and I just think he just needs to get the fractions right out in front, and if he does, he should come home in front, hopefully, in that race, the Stairs hurdle, to the race just before the Grand National. So for the National itself, Tiger Roll I've got to go with. Total Recall up there with them, along with the likes of the two Scottish horses have to have a punt there, the Dutchman and Houblon de Zobel as well, to give you a run for your money. Okay, well, best of luck. It's going to be a great day tomorrow. I can feel it, and I'm really hoping that we can get a few winners. I'm been pretty lucky down the years with the old Grand National, and I'm hoping again that will prove to be the case tomorrow. Next week it's Ayre's turn to take the limelight for the Scottish Grand National, and I will give you a preview of that tomorrow. Still working out final details as to how that vlog will be presented. Possibility I could present it down there at Ayr Racecourse itself, but we'll see how that pans out. The weather's to take a good turn in terms of we're hoping for a wee mini April heat wave to come our way next week, and that'll be great for Ayr if that is to continue into next weekend, but we'll see how that pans out. So another big week ahead of us next week for the vlog, but this one of the biggest weeks of the horse racing calendar, if not the biggest. So let's hope all the horses get round fine and well, and we get a good winner in the end, and it's one that we've backed. Hope you have a good one. Happy Grand National. Couple of racing.